All right, guys, let's take this from the top. Meet Pete the Skeet, Hollywood pass-around Davidson. We'll decode that name later. He is famous for dating one of the most famous people in the world, at least if Instagram is to be believed. He also catapulted into pop society for lovingly searing a woman's name into his chest that he had not known for even 4 months. Now, Pete thought it was cute. Kim thought it was cute too, but he also has more than 5 or 6 tattoos, the most famous one being "My girl's a lawyer." Oddly enough, his girl is not a lawyer. But hey, speak it into existence, Skeet. Speak it into existence. He also popped on people's radars for making some really sick jokes about babies. If you guys don't know what the jokes are, let me read them really quickly. This is actually what prompted Kanye West to tell him to stay the hell away from his kids. But you guys, I'm just giving you the background because we're about to get into some really dark and sinister things. All right, first, let's talk about that joke, right? Pete's controversial baby joke explained. I didn't know you had to explain jokes about babies. I thought they were pretty self-evident. There is the joke, there is the thought process, there is the intent, and then there's the matter of whether people laugh or not. I assume the audience didn't laugh, but I don't know. Sometimes I overestimate humanity. But let's get into this. The joke that Kanye was referring to was said by Pete during his 2019 comedy event, Pete Davidson and Friends, in Brooklyn, New York. He angered the crowd at the Bell House when he began joking about and babies, 2 topics that should never go together, from your lips to God's ears. Gross, right? But let's see what he actually said. The 28-year-old told a story about a time he was babysitting his friend's baby who began sucking on his finger as they were teething. Pete said, "But good. I don't want to F this baby." But he's asking for it. Yeah. Pete then concluded the joke by saying that he didn't want to have relations with babies, but if he did, he would choose that one. Now listen, this freaked me out. I feel dirty just reading it. But a lot of people said, "Stop it. You're being rude. Kanye's a psycho. Don't judge a book by its cover." And I said, you know what? You're right. Let's not judge a book by its cover. Let's crack this baby open and see what's written, chapters 1 to 13. Y'all ready for this? Let's take a deep dive into this book named Pete and actually see the very dark things that have a lot of fans questioning whether Kim Kardashian should be considered an unfit mother, not just for letting her 8 to 9-year-old daughter sit on a man's lap that literally burned her name into his chest after a few months of dating, but also for Pete's really dark and disturbing dating history that for any woman would raise red flags. Really quick, you guys, don't forget I got my exclusive members only live tonight at 8:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, baby. We're going into that scheme set up by Todd. For those of you guys that know this, meet me there, because you know I'm coming with the receipts, and baby, I'm busting all the lies open. All right, the link to join is down there. Okay, I'll get back to the mess. Okay. So where should we start? You know what? Let's start with Pete's last girlfriend before he somehow seemingly stumbled into Kim Kardashian, literally. Meet Kaia Gerber. Does her face look... Well, it should. Kaia is actually Hollywood celebrity royalty. Much oddly enough, like every woman Pete has dated in the last 10 years. Now, I ain't saying he a gold digger, but Kaia Gerber is actually the celebrity also. First of all, she's an accomplished model in her own right, so she has her own heat score. However, her family has even bigger heat score. She is the celebrity offspring to her supermodel brother, also to Gerber. If you don't know Rande Gerber, if you don't know who he is best friends to George Clooney. He owns Casa Amigos Tequila, and he is a popular, very rich and very successful restaurateur. Cindy Crawford, of course, is the body. She ruled billboards, I think, in the 90s and 2000s, and is still a legend in her own right. Now, if you don't know, Kaia met Pete the way Pete meets all the girls he dates, women, girls, whatever, right? Dogs, snakes, cats. He met them at work. This time he was walking the runway for Alexander Wang. Kaia was also walking the runway, and they immediately hit it off. Now, this did raise eyebrows with her family. It's been rumored that everybody knows that Pete basically is the pass-around skeet gold digger. He only dates women that are rich or that have rich family and Hollywood connections. As much as Pete likes to talk about he wants to stay out of Hollywood, he is desperate for this fame, and he does everything for clout. But they also raised some eyebrows because it is well known that the ladies' man who counts Ariana Grande, Margaret Qualley, Kate Beckinsale, we'll get to that, right? But due to intense and scary issues of the way he treats the women he's with and the way he handles breakups, they hope that the relationship would fizzle out. A source literally confirmed, it looks like Pete and Kaia are going through a rough match. It got very overwhelming for her. Pete has a certain MO, and he's very intense to his girlfriends. Kaia's only 18, and she has a lot to deal with. So what do you ask got very scary and very intense? Let's look at this. Cut to eyewitnesses' accounts, right, of Cindy Crawford and her husband, Rande Gerber, appearing extremely stressed as they spoke outside their daughter Kaia's New York City apartment. The 53-year-old supermodel looked shaken as she listened to her husband describe a conversation he appeared to have had with 18-year-old Kaia's comedian boyfriend, Pete Davidson. It seemed Rande had been in the apartment while Cindy was outside and had then come down to the foyer to speak with her. A bystander told all the outlets that Rande was heard saying that the person upstairs, presumed to be Pete, had scratched eyes and was freaking out. Pete reportedly left the apartment in a car down on the street after the parents talked. Kaia was later seen returning to the building after dark. Now listen, at this time she was one of the world's most in-demand young models, while Pete was just Saturday Night flunky pass-around, right? Who had both a troubled past and a long list of famous ex-girlfriends. Funny how that keeps coming up. We keep assuming that Kim is using Pete for a storyline, and she is. However, the one angle we didn't take for granted is the fact that Pete's down for it. He's been wanting to be famous for a while. Now look at this. Now Rande, as I told you, is the co-founder of the billion-dollar tequila label Casamigos. Pete has a radar for girls that have money, right? He appeared on edge by what he had witnessed inside the apartment. The best friend of George Clooney was very adamant as he spoke to his wife, Cindy. A bystander told this news that Rande was heard saying that his talk wasn't good. At one point, he brought his hands up to his face and widened his eyes as if to imitate what he had seen. Cindy stared at her spouse with her mouth open, appearing to recognize the seriousness of the situation. Rande was reportedly overheard saying, "He's got scratched out eyes. His face was like scared as if someone or a camera was on him. Scared as if someone or a camera was on him. His eyes are he's like freaking out." The tequila tycoon continued, "How in the hell can he be away? He needs help. My God, that's crazy. Private rehab, like in an hour." Then the topic went to Kaia, and Rande reportedly saying, he loves her. He loves her the same way he's proclaimed love for Kim and every other girlfriend he's been with 2 seconds after he meets them. Now listen, let's continue this, right? Rande then told Cindy that Pete was nearby, saying, he's over there. The supermodel reportedly replied, "Is it him over there?" Soon after, Pete was seen in a silver Lincoln SUV, but his face was not photographed. It's thought the tense conversation inside the apartment was likely between Pete and Rande. Later that evening, Kaia was seen walking into the apartment as she covered her face with a water bottle. She was makeup-free and had on a dark jacket. The next day, Cindy was seen alone as she picked up deli food in Soho. She kept her head down and failed to smile. There would be plenty for the parents to be concerned about. At 26, Pete was much older than Kaia, who's become an international supermodel thanks to her mom, family connections, He also had a very rocky romance record when he was engaged to Ariana Grande, dated Kate Beckinsale, and was linked to Andie MacDowell's daughter, Margaret Qualley, from Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Now listen, the couple talked for several minutes, then went in and out of the building many times. They appeared super anxious and kept checking their phone. Now, to their point, This isn't just idle gossip, because Pete actually did say on Saturday Night Live that he said, I'm going on a little vacation where insurance pays for some of it, they take your phone and shoelaces, and you have roommates, but it still costs $100,000. That was this joke about going to rehab over the holidays. He then also made a joke saying, I'm the type of guy that your daughter or mother is, if they're into, trust me, I'm the best case scenario. There are a million guys who look like me, and I'm the only one that has a job. Pete continued to joke. Now listen, this isn't to make light of Pete's mental situation or even his struggles with addiction and his struggles with wanting to delete himself. Kudos to him for constantly getting the help he deserves. Kudos to him. And I hope and I wish that his newfound relationship / fame whoring, in my opinion, with Kim actually doesn't end badly for anybody involved. But you guys, we're talking about red flags, and we're talking about if a mother, whether you would have somebody that have this seemingly dark history past. Every time a breakup happens, and they always happen, one, he seems to be a clout chaser. He seems to be a user. He seems to want to be famous and use women to get there, which is fine. The women seem down with that. He only dates people that are actresses that have famous parents or women that have cash, right? Kim fits the bill for both. But you need to actually ask yourself whether this actually shows Kim's best judgment as a mother, because this isn't just it. Let's go into other chapters of his book, because like they said, you can't judge a book by their cover. Now listen, Kim has notoriously showed bad judgment when it comes to matters like this. And I'm not just talking about this hefty bag that she's wearing as a dress. I'm also talking about the way when she started culturally appropriating braids and then blamed it on her little child, North, saying Northie begged her to wear it, and she wanted to wear braids and culturally appropriate Fulani braids for her baby daughter's sake. But then when they asked her, oh my God, your hair looks so beautiful, she referred to it as Bo Derek braids. So you wanted to culturally appropriate braids because your daughter begged you to. But then when they said, well, why are you culturally appropriating? She said, this isn't cultural appropriation. This is Bo Derek braids. So you didn't even teach your daughter. Again, I'm not going to even get into it. But again, make it make sense. But Ken has also done a bunch of other questionable things. But let's get back into Pete. Skeet Pete, the pass-arounds dating here. Who else has he dated? Let's start with his first girl he got to start his career. There was Carrie Aquilino, right? They started dating in 2015. This is when Pete was virtually an unknown. However, she was a hit on a big MTV series, Girl Code, and she had more clout than him. They seemed happy, right? They seemed happy until Pete spotted a bigger fish, Cassie David. Cassie David and Pete had a tumultuous relationship. She literally, now I should say that Pete got multiple tattoos of both women on his body. Actually, he got tattoos of all the women on his body. Now, why Cassie, you may ask? Because Cassie is also daughter to Larry David, one of the writers and creators of Seinfeld, Curb Your Enthusiasm. He is 100% Hollywood royalty and Hollywood comedy royalty. Okay, great, fine. He likes rich women and he's a pass around. However, the thing that nobody talks about is that during the breakup, first of all, Cassie's parents are rich and powerful. Check. They met while Pete was at work when Larry David guest stars on Saturday Night Live, right? They even shared stories about Pete's mental health, the way he threatened suicide on her a bunch of times if she left. This is all alleged, of course, but this is coming out of Cassie's mouth. You can look at her old Instagram posts. And the way when she finally ended it, she really was worried that he would actually make good on his threats of hurting himself. And she begged him to take her back, only for him to coldly be like, nah, I'm good, and announce he was seeing Ariana Grande a day after they broke up. He found an even bigger fish to hitch his fame wagon on. Again, he got multiple tattoos for Cassie, including one over his ring finger, and got all of them covered up. Cassie was said to be devastated by this, shaking and crying, to the point of her dad, Larry David, had to step in and console her. Let's go to Ariana Grande. Mind you, also, Cassie and Pete, he said that he was probably going to marry her too. Now let's talk about Ariana Grande. He literally went ring shopping and ordered a ring 2 days after they officially started dating. They were engaged within, a few weeks of knowing each other. Pete made multiple jokes about how he lives off of Ariana. Ariana, she has all the money. She just lets him live there. All this stuff. They had an intense, hot relationship. He got numerous tattoos. He also made a suicide scare while Ariana was with them. He tweeted that he didn't want to be here anymore, implied it was her fault. Ariana rushed down to 30 Rock his apartment to try to console him. Pete blocked her, refused to let her up. I'm skimming over this. Let me know in the comments if you guys want me to do a deep dive because I have all the receipts. He blocked her and then quickly moved on to Kate Beckinsale. He actually wasted no time in rebounding from his failed engagement to Ariana by moving on with her. Now, they had a 20-year age gap, check, so she lines up with Kim. She's literally ex-wife of one of the biggest producers in Hollywood. She has her own money. She has her own name. Again, Pete's been trying to get back into this acting thing for a while. They confirmed the news they were seeing each other by making out at New York Ranger games. A source told The Time at page 6 that their PDA was an FU to Ariana. But things didn't last long because Kate Beckinsale was like, listen, baby, you ain't passing that Pete over here. Thank you for your services, but I will keep my money and my name and you can go see your way out, right? They said, even though Kate has been in Hollywood for a long time, she struggled with the attention of her relationship with Pete. He lives his life with his heart on the sleeve. That was her nice way of saying that allegedly Pete is a fame whore. He likes to wrap women in this web of, oh, baby, 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 I love you. They're always more powerful, more successful. He mutes off of them, lives off of them, and basically is the male Kim Kardashian. But Kim Kardashian, I guess, from 2011, before she became a billionaire. He then moved on to Margaret Qualley. She was in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood and The Leftovers. She's been in a lot of stuff. But more importantly, her family, at least her mom, Andie MacDowell, is Hollywood royalty. Again, Pete knows what he's doing. However, this only lasted about a couple of months. It lasted a couple of months because, one, rumor has it, Margot didn't have enough money to keep him, and her mom didn't have enough clout to get him auditions. Don't forget with Kazi, she would fly across country just to be a few minutes on camera, on air, right? But this is also before he moved on to Kaia Gerber. Again, Kia's parents, Cindy and Randy, got way more clout than anyone. He then moved on to Phoebe Dynevor. I'm saying her name wrong, but the girl from Bridgerton, right? It was a short-lived romance. They said it wasn't too serious. She was smart. She got in and out. Again, Pete keeps networking, trying to get in where he fits in. He literally said that was a celebrity crush, showered her attention, tried to do all this other stuff. Again, the girls that bite with Pete, he goes all in. And it looks like Pete actually found the perfect victim, cohort, or love of his life with Kim. Again, you guys, kudos to Pete and his journey into whatever he's going, and I'm sure he will mature and level out and be the person he's meant to be. However, all this stuff happened recently, and we are talking about things that happened recently. I ask of you, for a mother of 4 young children, is this the type of guy that you want around your kids? We keep talking about Kanye as a father and Has anybody ever questioned what Kim and her judgment and her obsession with fame and storyline, and even that sick stuff of letting her daughter sit on Pete's lap? But even if you don't judge the book by that cover and you go into his chapters, you guys, we really need to ask, is Kim a fit mother? Is she thinking clearly? Or is she the latest victim / cohort to Pete the pass-around skeet of Hollywood Davidson and his amazing climb to success, one long night, throw on one good night, 80 billion tattoos, and actual concerning crazies, a past of stalkerish, crazy, actual behavior? And I don't know, guys. I don't know. Oof, listen, praying for everybody involved. Anyway, guys, let me know what you think in the comments, and I will talk to you later. Bye. Bye. Also, if you want me to do a more deep dive into how he cheated on his ex-girlfriends to get Ariana and the slimy things he did to actually make her come up, let me know. Until then, talk to y'all later. Bye.